In 1964, a band of 4 lovable lads from Liverpool, also known as the Beatles, arrived in America. These clean-cut Brits arrived hoping to change how music was, and this they undoubtedly did. During this process, though, they evolved from timid, proper men to psychedelic, revolutionary artists. Perhaps one of their most famous acts was perpetrating the Paul is Dead hoax, involving a rumor that Paul McCartney had died in a car wreck. I turned to music expert and my dad, Eddie Zaragoza, to look into this famous urban legend.
I think the rumor started like in about 1969. We probably heard about it on the radio. They were talking about it on the radio that, there was a rumor that Paul was dead. And then, friends of mine came around and we were like, wow, did you hear that Paul is dead? And, then we started hearing about the clues in the albums. And, it was pretty interesting. There was a lot of clues.
I then proceeded to ask Eddie if he could elaborate on these clues that he had mentioned.
The first one was the Sgt. Pepper album. Sgt. Pepper was supposed to be like a funeral for Paul. There's a guitar right here, and it's a left guitar, and that's Paul was lefty, and it's a bass guitar. It's only 4 strings. There's like 4 pieces of wood that are laying across these flowers here. There's a hand right here, right above Paul's head, and that's supposed to be a blessing, a death blessing. Ringo over here is looking pretty sad, and Paul's holding him like, that's okay, buddy, I'll be all right. On the inside of the album, Paul has a patch right here that says OPD, and it's officially pronounced dead. He said it's the Ontario Police Department. On the Magical Mystery Tour, there's a walrus, and the walrus is like some kind of sign of death. And on this picture right here, Paul's sitting in front of a sign that says I was. On this picture right here, Paul has a black carnation where all the other Beatles have red carnations. They asked Paul, why'd you have a black carnation? He says, because they didn't have any more red ones. And that was kind of suspicious. They're the Beatles. You think you could get 4 red flowers. The last album that had visual clues, at least, was Abbey Road. And that shows the funeral procession. Here's, John's in white. Like, he represents the church. Ringo here is the Undertaker in black. Paul is the dead man. He doesn't have any shoes on, and he's holding a cigarette. Cigarettes are called coffin nails, and George is the grave digger. He's gonna cover him up once they put him inside the grave. All the Beatles have their left foot forward, and Paul has his right foot forward, meaning he was out of step with the other Beatles. And this Volkswagen right here just happened to be parked here. It says 28 if, and Paul would have been 28 if he had been alive, which he wasn't. The back of the album shows the Beatles, but right here has some dots. It says 3 Beatles. So that was the clues from the albums.
Did the clues end in the album art, though?
The visual clues I've showed you on these 3 albums, on this white album, though, that's when the clues started getting really interesting. There's a song called Glass Onion. On this album, everybody was saying that John was the walrus. He sang, I am the walrus. But on this album, he's saying, here's another clue for you all, the walrus was Paul.
The walrus was Paul.
On this album, the white album, there's a song called Revolution Number 9, where, it starts off when number 9, and if you play that backwards on your turntable, it says, turn me on, dead man. Turn me on, dead man.
Number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9.
On one other song, at the very end of the song, you hear John saying, I'm very bored. But people think he's saying, I buried Paul. John later on said he was saying cranberry sauce. So, the Beatles, I think, knew what they were doing, and I think they were just playing with the people.
Now that you've seen some of the clues, it's time for you to decide. Was this purely coincidence, or was it a masterfully planned hoax?
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute.